All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to do mail merge emails from Google Sheets to a list of emails you have in your spreadsheet. So if you're coming from Excel background, you're probably used to having Microsoft Word where you create your email and then you link to your Excel spreadsheet and you do mail merge and send emails. That's not how it's going to work in Google Sheets. So you're not going to create your email in Google Docs or anything like that to send your emails. So with Google Sheets, you need to do HTML emails. Now, if you really don't want to bother with HTML, by the end of the video, I'll show you a way around that so you don't have to actually learn HTML to do this. But it's best if you understand at least some HTML. So the second thing I want to mention before I start is the limits. So there are limits of how many emails you can send per day. So if I open this screen, see this email section here, that gives you the limits for the account that you own. So if you have a regular Gmail account, the free version, you're gonna get 100 emails per day. And keep in mind, this includes all the other email scripts you have under that account. So if you're sending other emails with a script, that's also gonna apply to this limit. So you can see there are different limits depending on your account type. So just keep that in mind as you're using this. So with that said, let's move to our spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet I have. I have first and last names, I have some phone numbers and some emails. I want to be able to send some message to everybody in this list. And that's going to be some sort of customized message that's going to say, dear something something. And we'll say like, this is the phone number we have in file for you. Let us know if it's incorrect, something like that. And I'm sure you can customize your own message to make it the way you like it. So I'm going to start by going under tools and opening my script editor. That should look like this. I'm going to go on top left here and give this project a name. I'm going to click here, call this email app, I guess, and hit OK. Any name will do. I'm going to zoom in a little bit with Control Plus and we'll get started. So the first thing I have to do, actually, I have to create the template for my HTML. So I'll go under File, New, and create an HTML file. So that will ask for a file name. I'm just going to call this email. That's good enough. That's the name of the file. I'm going to hit OK. That's going to create an HTML file. So in the body of our email, we're going to create our email. And this is the part that I said you need to know some HTML. And if you don't, I'll show you a way around this by the end of the video. But for now, let's just write some HTML. So I'm going to create a paragraph tag. And here we'll do dear, and I'll just create a sample here. I'll do John and that last name. So John that, comma, and we're obviously going to make this change as we go through different people in the list. I'm going to copy that paragraph. I need a couple of more paragraphs here. The next paragraph is going to be the phone number we have on file is, and that's gonna be this phone number right there. Please reply if it's incorrect. And then move to our next paragraph here and do some sort of ending. Best regards. And we do a break to move to the next line, email app. I'm going to go ahead and save that with Control S or Command S. So that's done. So this is our HTML email. And if you know HTML, you'll be able to customize this as much as you want. So now here, I'm going to go in this part where it says John, and I want to replace that with something that's going to replace that with the name of the person and then the last name of the person and so on. So I'm going to replace the name for John with this brackets right here. And in those brackets, I'm going to go here and do short variable FN for first name, should be fine. And then I'm going to go for the last name and kind of do the same thing. So I'm going to Actually, just copy and paste that. I don't want the comma here in the end, so I'm going to keep that comma out of this brackets and replace it with LN, which will be short for last name. So I have the first name here, last name here. So far, so good. I also want to change this phone number to the right phone number that's coming from this spreadsheet. So I'll go ahead and replace that with a bracket as well and just do phone. You can call this anything you want. Just make sure you remember what you named this. And I'm gonna again do Control S or Command S to save. So that's it. That creates our template, and we just basically replace the parts that are gonna change with this brackets with some variable in the middle. So now once we got this done, we're gonna go to our code and we're gonna just make our code to read that HTML. We'll do a variable, we'll call it email temp is equal to, and we're going to use HTML service to be able to read that file. And we're gonna use this method that's called create template from file. Now this is gonna ask for the file name. So the file name we called email right here. So I'm just gonna put it in quotes, email. So in addition to reading that template file, we also need to read this data from our spreadsheet. That's going to be the first name, last name, email, and the phone number. So to do that, we'll create another variable, WS for worksheet. And to get that worksheet, we're going to go to our spreadsheet app. And we're going to do get active spreadsheet, which will be our current spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet, we're going to get sheet by name. So I want to grab the right worksheet, so that's going to be whatever name is here. Now this is called customers. That's exactly the name I'm going to use here to match the name of the worksheet. So now in that worksheet we need to read this range of data to a variable. So we'll do var data equals to, and that's going to come from that worksheet that we already did, WS, and we're going to do get range for this, and the range I'm going to use is going to be an A1 notation, and that will be basically starting from here, A2 going through D10. So I'm going to do A2 colon D10, but I'm not going to do the 10. I'm just going to leave this open to make this go all the way down. And then do dot and do get values to read those to an array. Let's just go ahead and confirm that that so far works. So I'm going to do logger log and do semicolon and use that variable data here over here and just run this, give the permissions that's necessary to run this, and then see what it gives me in this data. So I'm going to run that function, my function, that's this one right here. It's good enough. As usual, give the permissions it needs here. So this, go under advanced, go to email thing and allow. This is the standard permission stuff we have to do. And that's going to run that. Now I'm going to go under view and logs to see what's in the log. So that read that whole array, but you can see how we also get all these blanks all the way down. And that's because I did this A2 through D, and that sends it like all the way down. So that includes this blank rows down here. So let's actually not do that and read from here through here. So it goes to the last row. So what I'm going to do, instead of going A2 through D, I will say A2 through D, and then I'm going to do a plus, and I'm going to concatenate from that worksheet. I'm going to get the last row. So that should add the last row, D, to wherever it needs to go to make sure we only get the data that's actually filled up. So I'm going to run the same thing and go ahead and look at my log. And now we shouldn't have those blanks, but we have this array. So that's basically the data from our spreadsheet. You can see we have the first name, last name, the email, and this phone number. That's good. So now because that's an array, we can actually loop through that array. So if I just do data, that's the array, dot, I can do for each to be able to loop through that array, and that's going to accept a callback function. So I'm going to say function and open function brackets here, and that function is going to accept each row as an argument. I'm just going to type row there. So each time we run through that array, it's going to return one of these rows. So first time it's going to be this one, then it's this one, then it's this one, and so on. So it's going to go through these different rows. So in that row, if I wanted to get the name of the person, that's the first column. And you say first by saying 0. So the count starts from 0. So this is column 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So if I wanted the first names, if I just do logger.log to just log this out, that row, and do 0, that would be the first column in that row. So if I save this and run this again, we should be able to see that it outputs the first name of each person line by line. Good. If I wanted the third column, that would be 0, 1, 2. So it would be 2. And if I run this and look at the log, we have basically emails. So to make this easier to keep track of, I'm going to go on top here and just save columns in some variables so it's easier for me to work with this. So I'm going to do variable first, which will stand for the first name. That's the first column, so that's 0. Then I'm going to do variable last, and that's going to be 1. Then I'm going to do variable email, which is going to be 2, I believe, which is 0, 1, 2. And then I have phone, which is 3. So I'm going to do that, var phone equals 3. And what that's going to allow me to do, instead of saying row 2, I can just say row and then do email, which is going to come from this email right here, which is going to be 2. And if I do that and I run this and just check what happens, it should be the list of emails outputting. And if I wanted the phone number, I would actually just say phone instead of email here from now on, because I have this nice names that are assigned to the column. Okay, so now with this, we can now work with that data. So every time we can just get two different things, like the email address, we can get to the name of the person, etc., etc. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to that email template that I've defined here, and then I'm going to set all those things that I did here. So the FN, LN, the phone, those variables, I'm going to set inside of that template. And the way we do it, we take this email temp variable, we go inside of this loop that we've created, and then we assign what those variables are going to be. So I'll go ahead and do FN for the first name. That's because I have this thing that I've called FN. So I'm basically matching what I have here to this. And that is going to be equal to whatever is the name in that current row. So I'll just say row first. So then I'm going to repeat this for the other items. So I have the other two. One is called LM for last name, and the other one is, I believe, called phone. So that's what I've called C phone and LN. That's good. And here I will just basically just do the right variables in here. So now that I've defined what those variables are, we can take that template and we can evaluate it. So I'm going to create var HTML message. That's the email we're actually going to send out to that person. It's going to be this template dot evaluate. That's going to create an HTML output. But what we do need is basically just text of that HTML. So we're going to do this thing that's called get content. So this will create the actual message. That's the HTML message. That's going to be already customized with that name, last name, and the phone number and all of that stuff. So now we need to make sure we send that email out. Now to send the actual email, we need to use the Gmail app. And we're going to use this method called send email. We need the person who's going to be receiving that email. So that's going to be that email that comes from here, right? So that's going to be, again, row email. So we'll just do that. The subject for this email, what is it going to be? So we'll say important message. That's going to be the subject line. So this body is only text type of email body. So if you're sending HTML emails, which is what we're doing right here by having an HTML, it's not gonna send whatever this body is. So here you can create a text, some sort of body for emails that don't support it, or we can just simply say your email doesn't support HTML. You can say, please open it with a client that supports HTML, something like that. But that's just a message in case they don't have HTML support in their email. And then to send the actual email, comma here, and create this brackets to do an object. So I'm going to send some things to a new line here because this is getting pretty long. So it's really the same thing. I'm just going to format it a little nicer, I guess. There it is. So now we should be able to create our object here. So the object will accept multiple things. One, we can do the name, and that's just going to be who's sending this email. So we'll just do email app. So obviously you'll change that to whatever name you want. That could be a company name or something like that. We'll do HTML body, which is going to be an important part of this. HTML body is going to be this HTML message we've made here on top. So that's that. You can also add reply to if you wanted them to reply to a different email. And here you could just type some email where you want all the replies sent. I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to clean this out. I don't need the reply to. I'll just stick with this too. The name and the HTML body, good enough for me. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now we need to test this to make sure I'm not sending this to a bunch of people. I'm just going to create a copy really quick here and just delete most of these people, just do a couple of them. Probably change the email address for this. So those are going to be my test emails where I'm sending this information to. I'll go back and run the script to see what we get. So I'll go back to this, run this. It's going to ask for more permissions because of this Gmail app now. And again, we're going to just now it should have sent our 2 emails out. These 2. So let's go to our Gmail account and see what happened. So there's our sent folder. This is the first person in a list. That's their name coming from here. That's actually the second one, but it's one of those. And that's the phone number that we should have used. So that's that. And then we also have the second person here, which is John. And if I go here, that's John, and that's John's phone number. And there we go. So we modified it. We sent our email, and that's our subject line. It says important message. So what I'm going to do a couple of changes to this. First, I'm going to change this name of the function. Instead of my function, I'm going to call it send mail. And by the way, everything you do here is case sensitive, so be careful. So now I want to just assign it to some button here from my spreadsheet so that people can click on it and it will just send emails out. So I'll go under insert and do a drawing and just do a box, whatever this is going to be, email. Do some sort of background color for this. Basically just make it look nice. I'm not gonna worry about this too much right now. Just center this and maybe change the color of that text that says email. That's good enough for me. I'll go ahead and save and close. I'm just gonna move this to the side a little bit like this, and then I'm gonna assign this send mail function to this button. So I'll just click on it, click on this little dots, assign script, and paste that same name, send mail, hit OK. Now, if I click on this, it should run that function and send emails again to these people. But I want to do a couple of other modifications here. So I'm going to add another worksheet and call this settings. And in this worksheet, I'm going to do subject, and I'm going to do a name. And I want to be able to just come here to this worksheet and modify the subject and name and have my script send the subject and name that's typed right here. And I'll probably just move this button. I'll just right click on this, move this, and I'll do Control C, copy this. I'll go to settings and paste it here. That's not letting me do that, so I probably have to recreate this button. So I'm going to delete this and put that button on my settings page. That's fine. I'll do the drawing. Save and close. Move this thing around and assign it to that send mail function again from our script side. I'm going to click here, assign script, paste the script, hit OK. I'm going to move that. By the way, don't click on this directly. It's going to send emails. So I'm right clicking and then moving it so it doesn't send emails. So let's do our subject line. So I'm going to do another important email. Name is going to be our app. And then I'm going to just grab whatever's typed in here and use it in our script. So we'll just take this line right here and make a copy of it because it's largely going to be the same, and call it WS settings for our settings worksheet. And the name for this worksheet is called settings. So I want to match it right here. So that will go inside of that settings worksheet. In that settings worksheet, we're going to get the name. So the name is located in this B2 cell. So I'm going to go inside of that worksheet and do get range, and then do B2 as the range, and do get value. So by the way, this is plural, this is singular. That's going to get that. And we need to repeat this for our subject too. So I'll do var subject, and that's going to be in this cell, B1. So I'll type B1. So now I'm going to use those variables in here. So instead of saying email app, I'll just replace it with that variable name. And instead of having this important message, I'm just going to use the variable subject, and that should take care of it. So now I should be able to just go here, and I wrote this subject line, and this is my list of customers. Let's go and make sure we clean everything up from here so we have nothing left in our sent folder. So I'm going to go back and click on this email button to run the script. So that's going to run it, finished. So now we should have our email sent again. Let's go check our sent folder, and there it is, another important message. Now that's coming from here, and it's still the same message with all of this information. Go back and clear this. Finally, I'm going to do one more modification here, and what I want to do, if I had a larger list, I might want to have my script send it to some people, but not send it to others. So if I have, let's say, 3 more people here, I want to have this new column with a checkbox that I can just check who should be receiving emails and who should not be receiving emails. So I'm going to say send, and then I'm just going to make some checkboxes here. So I'll go here and go under data, and I'll do data validation. and switch this to a checkbox and hit save. So now we should have these little checkboxes. So now the way I want this to work, if I go and check like these two, I want only those two to actually receive emails instead of sending it to everybody in this list. So I'm gonna go back to this and we just need to do a little bit of modification. This is where we get our data. And that data will be including all those names and everything else. Now we're gonna add this extra column send to that data. So we're gonna go from A through E instead of going through D. So I'm gonna change that to E column. Now that gives me my data. I want to just filter it to the ones that are checked before I start sending that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take that variable data and I'm going to run a filter on it. And that will accept a function again. And for that function, each time we're gonna get a row. I'm gonna just call it short R. And we only want to get our results if that checkbox here is checked in this column. So I'm gonna do that by saying return. And R, I have to choose which column we're filtering by. So that's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth column. And I'm going to check that if it's equal to true, then we'll keep that. So this filter is going to filter to everything where in that fourth column that's true. And then after we filter, we're going to just send our emails. So let's save this. And let's just run a quick test to make sure this works. So with this, I'm going to check like this one and this one. So that should send it to Wesley and Jeremiah. And I'm going to use this same email again for sending. Let's go and make sure there's nothing in our send email folder. There's nothing here. Let's go back and just send our emails. So I'm going to go to my settings and just click email. Ran the script, finished. Let's go check our sent folder. And see, we sent it to Jeremiah. That's good. And we sent it to Wesley. So now we have the ability to just filter to who we want these emails to be sent instead of just sending to everybody in this list. All right, so that's that. So it works just fine. I'm just gonna add these people here to this list as well and delete this worksheet right here. And for this checkboxes, you could just do checkboxes for a whole column like this. So you don't have to keep doing them every time. Data validation, checkbox, save. Now we have checkboxes all the way through. So the last thing I want to cover is, remember in the beginning I said if you don't know HTML, I can show you a trick to avoid writing that HTML email part, which is going to be this email template that we've made here. And we can do that by using TinyMCE. So that's the website. So if you go to tiny.cloud, that should get you to this website. And then if I go under products, and open demos under TinyMCE, that should give us their HTML editor. Now I'm gonna just go ahead and clear everything from here. And now here we can create our own HTML. So one thing to keep in mind is that this font, this default one that's here, it's not gonna be available in your emails. So you wanna make sure you switch it to some other font here from the list. I would say, I guess, start from Arial and go from there. So I'm going to go here and then I can write my email like the way you would in a Word document. So I'm going to say, Dear John Smith, please check the phone number below and make sure it's correct. And then I'm going to do this and I'm going to type some phone number that we're going to replace. And maybe we'll, instead of doing enter here, I'll just do shift enter to do a little line, and then I'll do best regards. Again, shift enter and email app. That should do that. So you can make things bold if you want to. You can change some colors by going here. See, we have like colors. Choose one of those. Basically, you can change stuff. I'm gonna make it bold. Maybe we'll make something a hyperlink. We'll say for more information, click here. And we'll just make a hyperlink out of this click here. So I'm gonna select that, click on this hyperlink, and I'll just type some link. I guess that's good enough. That's gonna be the link. So basically, you see where this is going. You'll just create your email right here. When you have it all set, you're gonna go under tools and go under source code. And that should give you a nice HTML that you could use as a template. So I'm gonna take that and copy that, go back to my web app. I'm gonna go ahead and just select this and paste whatever code this thing created, and you can get more creative here. You can add, as you can see, bullet points. You should be able to add tables if you wanted to, like this, right? So you can get creative here if you want to. Hopefully you get the idea. So after you got all of that together, you just copy and paste it here. And now you go and replace the words that should change with the brackets. So we go here, John should be replaced with our brackets, which is the FN. And then I'm gonna do it for all the other parts. So the Smith is gonna be LN. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit here, and the phone number right here. So you don't want to touch any of these brackets or anything else, just replace the part that's the actual text. And that's gonna be our phone. I got all of that going here. Everything else is gonna stay how it is. I'm gonna save this, and let's check if that gets us our new email with all the formatting with it. So I'm gonna delete that, go back to this, go to my settings, and I'm gonna check some other people, I guess, here from the list. I'm still gonna replace the email here. So we'll do Steven, we'll do Angela, that's good enough. And then simply go to our settings and run this. So maybe give it a different email subject, yet another important email. Click email. That should run this and send everything out. And if we go to our sent folder, there it is. We have Angela's email, yet another important email. And there is that template we've made. That's basically this with the red font here. And then we have this click here, which is an email to Google, as you can see. And that's how you make mail merge in Google Sheets. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.